Welcome to No Apology with Emilee and Chris. So glad you are with us once again. We are going to be laughing louder, digging deeper, and living larger on the show, and I hope you will be doing that right along with us.
Yeah, we try to strive. We try to strive. That doesn't make sense.
That's a little redundant.
We
to
strive.
Try to strive.
We strive, and we try. We call it striving try.
It's striving.
It's striving. We're striving to bring you truth and into your world honestly and authentically and without apology. Some people call it companion Christian radio. We used to be professional broadcasters. Those days are gone. And here we are with you as a variety talk show with a Christian worldview, just trying to bring a little light into your life, make you smile a little bit, but always standing on the authority and the complete sufficiency of God's word.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's summer break. Hopefully you guys are enjoying yours. Normally we start with the granny rant and then we go on into Salvaged by God, deep dive and so on. But since it's summer break, since it's vacation time, I thought we would mix things up and break the schedules as well. And maybe just dive right into it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We don't have to have a formal format every single time. Let's loosen up.
Yeah,
right?
and we were looking at this story that's coming out about Newsbreak. Newsbreak is an app. It's the most downloaded U.S. app in America. And Emilee, you asked me to do a little more research.
I did.
And because
we talked a little bit about it, and it was fascinating. So tell me what you found.
Do you want me to share what I found?
Absolutely. Newsbreak app. What's up with that?
Well, it writes fiction using AI and passes it off as news to everybody.
Oh, another one.
Yeah, but this is different.
It is. How is it different?
Well, because I believe that there's a sinister motive at foot.
Of course. Why do you say that?
I'm going to explain it. I'll get to it at the end.
Oh.
If you don't know at the end about the sinister motive, bring it up, but I'll try to make it as clear as possible.
I'll make a note. I'll put a sticky on my computer.
Before we get to motive.
Sinister motive.
Before we get to motive, let's get to facts. All
Okay.
right? Last Christmas Eve, Newsbreak, a free app with roots in China that is the most downloaded news app in the United States, published an alarming piece about a small town shooting.
Okay.
It was headlined. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here's the headline. Christmas Day tragedy strikes Bridgeton, New Jersey, amid rising gun violence in small towns.
Oh, yeah.
That's the headline.
Okay.
Little problem, though.
Yeah.
No such shooting took place.
Okay.
The Bridgeton, New Jersey Police Department posted a statement on Facebook on
There's
December 27th.
actually a town.
Yeah.
Bridgeton.
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Yeah. December 27th, dismissing the article produced by AI technology as entirely false.
Wow.
This is the post from the police department from Bridgeton, New Jersey.
Okay, so now the police have to deal with it.
Well,
because
yeah,
they're getting phone calls and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, what did they say?
It says nothing even similar to this story occurred on or around Christmas or even in recent memory for the area they described.
Okay.
The post goes on to say, it seems this news outlet's AI writes fiction and they have no problem publishing to readers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how is if it's just like a tabloid?
It's not. No, this is not a tabloid. This
What do
is
you
an
mean?
actual news outlet. Newsbreak is headquartered in Mountain View, California, although it has other...
So it's like a licensed. It's a licensed news outlet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then, how do they keep their license then when they're doing this? I mean,
news outlets don't need licenses.
But
you just have to follow
there's
FCC
still-
rules if you're broadcasting and stuff like that.
There you go. And there are rules that do govern news outlets versus, just like you and me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you profess to be a news outlet, there's criteria. There's laws that you have to abide by.
Newsbreak, which is headquartered in Mountain View, California,
Yeah.
also has offices in Beijing and Shanghai. There's a shock. Told Reuters it removed the article on December 28th, 4 days after publication. Now, the company said the inaccurate information originated from the content source and provided a link to a website, adding, when Newsbreak identifies any inaccurate content or any violation, what they do is they take prompt action to remove that content.
Do they write a retraction?
No. Wait till you hear the whole thing. It is such a sham.
Okay.
All right. So here's the deal. News outlets from across America many of them have shuttered their doors. They've closed.
Right, they are.
Yeah. It's just this, trying to keep a local news thing on the air is really difficult.
It's getting difficult, yeah.
It's getting, because you can get content anywhere. Just like it's difficult to see this show
Exactly.
funded that we're trying to share the gospel with.
Yep.
Maybe God will do something. We'll see. But here's
Probably
the deal.
not.
Newsbreak came to fill a void that I think is still void. There's still a void there.
Okay.
And that is they want to be the go-to source for all things local.
Oh, right.
Okay,
Well,
so they have licensed content with major media outlets, including Reuters, Fox, AP, and CNN, as well as some information obtained by, just scraping along, scouring the internet,
okay.
the information superhighway, the interweb.
Yeah.
And so they get these local news and press releases, and then they rewrite them with the help of AI.
Oh.
And this service now is only available in the United States, and this sounds good on the surface, but here's the deal. In at least 40 instances since 2021, in just 3 years,
Yeah.
the app's use of AI tools affected the communities it strives to serve. Can you imagine if that story came out about a local shooting in Harlan, Iowa?
Right.
Well, we live in Harlan. There's 5,000 people here. We know that it went down.
Right.
And our police department's saying, no, this is wrong. Sooner or later, these news outlets need to be held accountable. I don't know how,
Exactly.
but let's just get some facts here.
Okay.
10 stories from local news sites under fictitious bylines and lifting contents from its competitors, according to a Reuters review of previously unreported court documents relating to copyright infringement. Cease and desist emails from 2022 registering concerns about AI-generated stories. So what is that? What am I just saying?
Okay, you're saying that they've been warned before.
And they've been
Many,
threats
many
about
times.
Yeah, so they don't care about copyright. They've been threatened. They've had cease and desist
whatever. It's just a big whatever for
It's a
them.
big whatever for them because they got tons of Chinese cash behind them.
Yeah.
And whenever you see Chinese behind someone, what do you know that they have that nobody else has? They have the backing of the Biden administration.
Oh, absolutely.
So we know that that's
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Reuters spoke to 7 former Newsbreak employees, including 5 who said most of the engineering work behind the app's algorithm is carried out in the China-based offices.
Okay.
What does that mean? Who's doing the algorithms? What do they get?
People in China.
They
yeah.
get all the data.
Exactly.
They get all the data from the users, the
Yep.
cookies, the stuff, the
Yep.
tracking of the app when it's on your phone, all of those
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
And of course, these employees requested anonymity, citing confidentiality agreements and
You
and
think.
things. But they talked about erroneous stories produced by Newsbreak's AI on 3 occasions in January, February, and March. Food Power, a Colorado-based bank, said it had to turn people away because Newsbreak stated incorrect times of food distributions. The charity complained to Newsbreak in a January 30 email to Newsbreak's general customer support, which Reuters has reviewed. The charity said it received no response. So, again, there's no phone number to call.
No.
So you got a problem. You got to send an email to info@whatever, and they haven't gotten a response.
Right.
So it's not just about creating false stories. It's also then very inaccurate,
Right.
which is kind of bad for a news organization.
I don't see really how they're helping anyone. And here's the thing. Once you're duped by this once, would you ever go back to them again? I mean, would this eventually just kind of, give it enough rope to hang itself, so to speak?
Well, you know that our Lord and Savior has a huge heart for orphans and widows.
Absolutely.
Right? And what does that
Yes.
mean? That has a lot of different meanings to it, right? Orphans and widows from the culture in which Jesus was the same, but it really means an oppressed people group that need our help.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of the way I've always looked at it.
Yeah.
Well, the homeless are orphans and widows, kind of,
Yeah.
in my mind.
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
I see homeless,
Yeah,
even if
yeah.
it's a dude, I'm like, well,
Yeah,
so. Newsbreak had an incorrect story, AI based, which said it was
Okay.
holding that had this charity, Harvest 912, said it was holding a 24-hour foot care clinic for homeless people, and that was completely erroneous.
Oh, my word.
Harvest 912, the charity said this: "You are doing harm by publishing this misinformation.
Yes.
Homeless people will walk to these venues to attend a clinic that is not happening." Yeah. So here's Newsbreak's disclaimer. You ready for it? Then we're going to move on.
I don't know if I am because my stomach's getting a little upset right now.
You had mentioned that we want to start bringing Mike Shaw on earlier
We
in the
do,
show.
I bet,
And so
yeah.
I'd like to bring him in just a minute after I
Okay.
get to this. But here's their disclaimer
The
after all that.
response.
Yeah.
All right.
They warn that their content may not always be error free. Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's what I want to ask you.
Okay, now wait a second though. Newsbreak. It's called Newsbreak app.
Yeah.
If it's on your phone, get rid of it. Don't use it. Don't download it. Newsbreak is garbage. Okay. What were you going to say?
They have an excuse on every one of the stories that came out.
You said it was like more than 30, 40?
40 of them. 40 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. 10 are misinformation and a bunch are just. But here's the question. Mm-hmm. What do all of them have in common besides misleading, false headlines?
It's coming out of China.
Well, no.
What else?
It's designed to
Confuse people.
take away the foundation of America.
Okay.
What does this headline tell you? The one that we started with. I'm going to go back to it.
Okay. Now, are we getting into
I
the
want-
sinister motive now?
Yes, I
Okay.
want you to hear how deceptive this headline is.
Okay.
Okay? It's evil influence. It's propaganda.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you're doing a fake story, you can really go all out propaganda. So AI has a way of wording things, and it says this. Christmas Day tragedy strikes Bridgeton, New Jersey.
Okay.
That's all fine.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Why did it strike?
Yeah.
You know, how did this happen? What created this tragedy?
Yeah.
The second half of the headline.
Okay.
Amid rising gun violence
Exactly.
in small towns.
Exactly. That right there is the motive. That right there is the purpose of the whole thing. Is
Amid
to,
rising gun violence in small towns.
is to make that stick. Because even if you read that story, realized it was fake, moved on, a year from now, if someone else used that term, rising gun violence in small town America, you'd go, oh, yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah. I would do that.
Yeah, no,
Everybody would do that. Words are like seeds being planted.
We can move people through advertising. We have proven it.
Right.
And we have proven how many impressions it takes and what kind of impression and whether it's positive or negative and what kind of reaction do you want from people.
Yeah.
People can be controlled and manipulated.
Absolutely. Easily. Yeah.
What's difficult to do is to move a soundly born-again Christian rooted deeply in the Scriptures and has a
harder.
relationship with Jesus where he knows what he knows because he knows it, and his citizenship is in heaven, and he's founded and grounded in the Word of God and in his life with Jesus. That person's hard to move.
Yeah. Because they know the truth.
Yeah, they know the
truth has set them free. So, and it's not that they can't be moved. They can't be deceived. We certainly can. We need to be vigilant and on our guard and constantly in God's word so that we can continue laying it down next to Scripture. So, should we bring Mike in?
Yeah,
what do you think? Let's do it, Mike.
And
He's
Mike,
been listening all by himself.
Speaking of AI, you were watching Apple's little evil
Apple.
presentation. When
You're going to need a new iPhone. That's all I can tell you. Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
This
Very
Newsbreak thing is fascinating for lots of reasons.
Okay.
All right, you're our AI expert. What have you found?
Well, first of all, this is the joke part. I always do the joke first, and then we get into the real content. Because when I had my show in Tucson,
it's us.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. It's a formula. So when I had my show in Tucson, we always used to say, I always used to say, when news breaks, we fix it. So that's what we're going to do now. Now, it turns out that
I want a sounder for
that's
that.
right.
Yeah,
No, we need
that's
that.
good.
So this Newsbreak app, I'm on their Twitter right now.
I got
They
okay.
have almost 56,000 followers.
Wow.
Including 6 people that I follow.
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Wow. You might want to contact
Right?
some of those friends and say, hey.
So there's 2 things here, and we're media experts because
Yeah.
that's been most of our pretty much our entire adult
You
lives.
spend
have been
40 years in the industry, you know a thing or two.
Exactly, and so when you read a headline like that, we're able to easily pick out what
Pick it
Chris
out,
picked
yeah.
out. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, they're trying to push gun violence in small towns, and it's a problem, and and then the logical conclusion in most people's brains is we got to do something about that.
Yeah.
Confiscate those guns.
That's right. And so they're
You don't need to hunt with an AR-15.
well, watch this. I don't know. So anyway,
No, I'm sorry.
I know, right?
Depends
Every
on
time
what you're hunting, ladies.
Every time I see a friend with an AR-15, I'm like, that's my guy.
That's
I know, right? Yeah.
We have the right to have those.
I know.
guns.
I think it's funny when
They're
people
awesome.
refer to them as assault rifle.
Yeah.
they're all assault weapons. I mean, that's what
This one I
weapons
call no one's going to
do.
assault anybody inside my house.
Yeah.
It's an assault stopper.
Well, and
The magazine carries 30, so I call it my AR-30.
if you're in a relationship and in the kitchen, you've got to watch out for assault frying pans.
But AR
right.
does not stand for assault rifle. I don't know what it stands for, but it doesn't
No.
stand for assault rifle.
Not at all.
It's some other identification.
I think it's always right in your righty right.
yes,
right.
always ready.
Always
Whoever
right.
has the
ready
AR,
15.
whoever has the AR is always right.
But the reality is that AI creating content means
Yeah.
that they can put the subtlety in there automatically with billions of calculations to try to figure out what's going to move the emotions of people more. In fact, I can't imagine how strong some of the ads I wrote over the years would have been enhanced with AI.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we had some good ones. We had some Addy Award winners. We
Yeah.
had some national award winners.
Here's my question though. You could put out a really great article and you got an award for that. You put out a really great ad and you can win an award for that if it's really good. On the flip side of that, you can get in trouble if you don't do the research. When we start using AI, who's at fault? Like no one's at fault. There's no one to blame. There's no one to say that there's no
Bad AI,
punishment.
bad AI.
Well, here's what's going on with AI.
Oh, sit in the corner, AI, and think about what you've done.
You turn AI off until I want to turn it back on again.
So AI is just a tool.
Yes.
And these people are using this tool because it massively increases your productivity.
Right.
And so you've got, Newsbreak app that I found on Twitter and that we're talking about now. I don't know how many employees they have. It's probably like 3,
Right.
And so they're using AI to increase their productivity. I guarantee you that CBS, NBC, CNN, others are using AI to help write their
well.
content
Oh, yeah.
to
For
increase
sure.
their productivity.
Yeah.
And when even citizen journalists, it doesn't matter.
Wasn't
AI's
ESPN or some sports organization, media organization, weren't they accused or found guilty of using AI to write their articles at one point?
Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated.
okay.
Yeah, Sports Illustrated.
Wouldn't surprise me.
You know,
And-
they had to do a whole big apology thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be more and more of that because AI is getting better and better
Right,
at writing
right.
and everything else that it does. I don't know that there's a lot wrong with that, except for the fact checking. Right.
Right.
So, an AI will probably get better at that as well. But
Sure.
if you're publishing news articles and you're getting sued for copyright because apparently they're being accused of, hey, they went to my website and stole my
Yeah,
article
exactly.
and rewrote it slightly using AI, that's a copyright infringement.
Right.
What you can do is what Chris did. Chris took a news article and read some of it, and then we had reaction to it.
Right,
That's
exactly.
all fair use.
Right, right.
But if Chris took that news article and started a website and just
Yeah.
republishing other people's works, that's copyright infringement. You can't
Exactly.
do that.
Exactly.
And if you're relying on AI for your productivity and you only have 2 people there to do fact checking and you don't do that, then you're going to run into these kinds of problems.
Right,
And it's going to be it's increasingly a problem because all of our content is so fractured. People, I don't know anyone under 60 who watches the local news anymore.
Right. That's true. That's true. We're all online. But here's the thing, because of the issues that you talked about earlier, Chris, at what point do people think I can't trust anybody or anything? Because when you look into like George Orwell or you look into Nazi Germany, that was one of the pillars is we have to get society to isolate themselves, to no longer, what's the word? Work with other people because they don't trust anyone.
Collaboration.
No more collaboration. No more, bonding together. They needed people to be isolated from one another, and that's how they did it. Get it to the point where no one trusts anyone. And I think that this is a big tool in getting us to that point.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And because the propaganda is real.
Yeah.
And as we rely more and more on AI, like we talked about a week or two ago on the show, where Google announced, "Hey, let Google do the Googling for you."
I
we
know.
have an AI tool for that pretty soon. And Apple is now announcing their new Siri that's coming out.
Yeah.
That's going to be using a lot of AI tools to help. It's going to be really cool because you're going to be able to run your phone with your voice, and Siri's going to be able to do all kinds of stuff for
It's
you.
going to be so
It's gonna be
cool
so
how we
cool.
annihilate ourselves.
That's right. That's part of it.
As civilization
part of it.
evaporates in front of us, it's
Yes.
going to be awesome to see how Siri handles it.
And it will be
Exactly
so
right.
convenient.
That's part of it. That's part of
We
it. These
can-
tools are so useful.
Yes.
Everyone's going to buy in. They're going to be in everything, and then the end.
And you won't really have a choice, right?
And you won't really have a choice.
Self-annihilate, right, from the
Right.
comfort of your own home.
But we're not going to know what the truth is, and it's going to become
Right.
less and less verifiable.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same thing has been happening with the scriptures for years.
Yeah.
Where you muddy the waters, you have 2,000 different denominations. Everybody takes stuff out of context.
Yeah.
And that's where true Bible scholars who the Bible says what it says because it says it. And it is not hard to see hyperbole. Like I'll give you an
Right.
example in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, early on. I don't have anything with me. I'm just going off memory.
Right.
There's a thing where Paul's like, look, if I can do all of these things but don't have this, then I'm a loser. And one of the things he says is speak in the tongues of angels, right?
Yep.
That little verse has been taken out of context by tongue speakers
Yep.
to try to justify the fact that even though nobody knows what they're saying, they say that they're speaking in some sort of angelic tongue.
They might be.
This is not biblically supported under any stretch of any imagination.
Not when you look at it in the entire
Right.
context.
I've heard other charismatic leaders try to take stuff from the NLT, a translation that
Poor translation.
Well, but it's got some good parts. It's got some good elements to it. But again, if you can't identify those good elements, you might as well set it aside. The point is, he took the NLT and he took the words and then he took that out of context. But it was manipulative, and it would have made his point had that been scripture. But the way he used those words, it wasn't actually scripture.
Right, exactly.
Every other translation translated
Right.
with a different meaning than what this guy was doing.
Yeah.
And the point I'm trying to make is that it's the same thing with AI news stories, trying to create a worldview in our minds where we will start to act and behave in certain ways because our thinking is that this is real. A good example is how in the last 20 years, the love of America and patriots and flag wavers after 9/11 all has been throttled that we shouldn't be doing that.
I know, right?
We all stand on the side of we don't
have
like
mental
we don't
illness
like
or
Colin
something.
Kaepernick because of what he did, but you realize Colin has a huge following of people who thinks that he's like doing the right thing.
Yeah.
This is the division of our country.
So you're talking
and
about
AI is
MSNBC?
doing that.
Okay, so I have a question, Mike.
Yeah.
AI, you talk about AI getting smarter and smarter.
Yep.
Is there going to be a tipping point where people say, okay, it's good enough, I'm just going to trust AI? And or is it going to be more like we don't really have anywhere else to go, we don't really have anywhere else to turn, and we're just going to kind of have to?
It's just going to happen. It's
Yeah.
going to happen naturally. Everyone's going to embrace it, and it's just going to happen naturally. And it's going to be a sliding scale. I mean, you have people now that are techies, kind of like that have a tech bent like I do.
Right.
And so, I kind of live in that world part-time at least. And there are a lot of people, early adapters. Chris was making fun of me a minute ago. He goes, do you watch the Apple thing? You're getting a new phone soon, right? I'm like, because he knows I get a new phone.
Every time they show a video, Mikey gets a new
Get a new
phone.
phone. Right. Some people, Angel gets his wings when the bell
Let's
rings.
get Mikey to try
I get
it.
a new
I
phone.
ain't going to buy it. You going to buy it?
And so
Tim Cook's live streaming. Mike's
So,
gonna get a new
my
phone.
Pixel may turn into a new Apple phone come October.
Make sure you have Newsbreak on the air. One of those apps. Yeah.
for sure.
And so, so early adapters are already installing AI apps. They're using AI tools.
Yeah.
They're fully embracing it now.
Yeah.
And then as it becomes part of your iPhone come September, October,
Yeah.
if you have an A17 chip Pro or better, or an M series chip in your either iPad or in your computer,
Yeah.
you'll be able to use these tools, and they're going to be so cool. People are going to be trading in their iPhones for brand new iPhones so that they can have Siri do all this stuff for them because it's going to be
Right.
neat.
Yeah.
And it will be neat.
Yeah.
And then and it's going to be everywhere. It is.
Well,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Words have meaning.
Yes,
Yes.
they
And
do.
words matter.
They do.
In fact, sometimes, I can think of one thing my grandpa said to me. I can think of about 5 things that my father said to me. And these are some of the most encouraging things. And those words still lift me to this day.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm 60 next year. And my grandpa hasn't talked to me since I was like 8 years old. He died when I was like, when I was 21. And, so, I mean, I haven't seen him in years, but still.
Decades.
One encouraging thing he said to me has stuck with me my whole life. Same thing goes when it's negative.
Yeah.
If you hear
True.
a negative thing from a spouse, from a parent, from a sibling, well, siblings ain't as much because siblings go after each other pretty hard. But
Yeah.
so you take that with a grain of salt. But words hurt. Sticks and stones
There's
may break my
power in
bones, but
words.
words won't
Yeah.
ever hurt me.
Yeah.
They do matter so much so that we got snowflakes that need safe spaces because they can't handle that the words do hurt. They hurt, but that doesn't mean that we have to we have to protect ourselves and wrap ourselves in vocabulary
Exactly.
bubble wrap.
The point was,
I mean,
let's learn how to deal with that
Right.
and navigate it, right? In a
Well,
healthy way.
I
Yeah.
want to end this whole big segment with why I think this show should continue and why I think it should get better.
Okay.
Why we need to continue to strive to give our very best. But in the middle of it, with AI running all the show and everything, I've got a little thing I want to share.
Okay.
And our Rumble and YouTube viewers are going to have a better time with this than the audio listeners on iTunes, Spotify, tune in or wherever you get the content.
Yeah.
So audio listeners, you're my favorite. I love you better than the video listeners, but the video watchers have been watching me deal with something stuck in my eye this whole show. It's just my right eye's just burning. Anywho,
Allergy season.
I want to talk about how bad language can get, particularly the English language. And I'm just going to
It's
read
a difficult language.
I'm going to
yes.
read you a little thing that has multiple words that are spelt exactly the same, but they're pronounced differently and they have different meanings in contact. Are you
Yep.
ready?
Yeah, I am ready.
All right, let's get to it.
It's a
All
hard
right.
language to learn.
Minute and minute should not be spelled the same.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not content with this content.
All right.
I object to that object.
Yeah.
I need to read what I read again.
Aha.
Excuse me, but there's no excuse for this. Someone should wind this post up and throw it in
Mm.
the wind. Get
Wind
it?
and wind. I like
Yeah.
it. Let's not even go to
Yeah.
there, or our.
Yeah.
Or it's
It's.
Yeah.
less and fewer. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And don't get me started on dangling participles.
Oh, please don't. No. Are you a positive?
I've heard that it is one of the tougher languages to really
Yes.
master, and I think American society has proven that.
I have
But-
in public called America or English a garbage language, and you got mad, Emily, when I
Well,
said that. You're like, don't say
It's a
that.
conglomerate.
It is. It's a conglomeration
Yeah.
of all the different languages coming together, which makes it very tricky. But it also, because of that, has a depth to it that is kind of extraordinary, really.
Look.
I mean, we pull from not just current languages, but ancient languages as well. And so I
What
think
I
it's
mean by
fascinating.
English is a
I think it's
garbage language.
Fascinating.
What I mean by English is a garbage language is that these words just drop down to the bottom of the lake, and English is the carp fish scraping along the bottom. All right, scraping along the bottom, sucking up all of these
I
old
see.
words and creating their. Look at this. I object to that object.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
content with this content.
Yeah.
But
It's all
do
about
you
context.
I live in
think-
Charlotte, Michigan, not Charlotte, North Carolina.
Well, that's just idiocracy.
Yeah.
So, but here's the deal.
How about La Mesa, Texas?
La Mesa,
Instead of La
Mesa.
Mesa, yeah.
I can't wait for somebody to send me an email. I'm an English teacher, and I'm offended by you saying that English is like a carp in the bottom of the lake.
Also in
I
Texas.
dare you to say that to a Brit. Seriously.
Oh,
a
yeah.
prim and proper Brit
Yeah.
who knows the language.
Do you remember British literature and trying to read Beowulf in the Old English?
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Go
Right.
go anywhere in London,
changed a
and
lot.
go anywhere in England, and go to the local corner. They have a fish and chips stop at every town in England, and go up and order the fish and fries. See what happens.
How about fish and custard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
No,
learned
it's
that
fish
from
and chips.
Doctor
It's
Who.
fish and chips, but
Fries are chips,
Yeah.
and chips
Okay.
are crisps.
Okay.
The hood of
Oh,
your car
right.
is the bonnet. The trunk of your car is the boot.
and cookies are biscuits.
Cookies are biscuits.
That's right.
All right.
And
I don't know.
and aluminum is aluminium.
Yeah.
But here's the
aluminium,
thing,
I
we
And
love
you don't
used
go
to-
to the hospital. You go to hospital.
There's no, yeah. But
and
here's
university.
Brilliant.
the thing.
Governor.
When I was young, even in elementary school, they were still teaching us, instead of saying the word the, like the book, you
Yep,
know, when we'd
yep.
see it.
The and
And then
thou.
we'd go home and we'd talk and just say the, but they were still teaching when I was young, as we were learning to read, to say the book, the ladder, the whatever.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really interesting, but our vocabulary has actually dropped drastically. We do not use near as many words as what our ancestry did. They had a lot bigger vocabulary, and thus I think they could express ideas to a finer point, which I think had a unifying effect on people.
Well, they were doing physics in 5th grade back then. So
Exactly.
So, I mean, they were smart.
Exactly.
Well, I would love to, see old Noah Webster put a definition for fozizzle, fozizzle, some of these
Yeah.
made up words.
Yeah, when they add words to the dictionary every
The
year.
urban slang.
Yeah, I
Fozizzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
Fozizzle.
I've
What does
always-
fozizzle mean? I don't know,
I've
but I want to
never
know.
liked that. I've never liked the fact
It's
that
positive.
that urban
Fozizzle.
that urban slang eventually makes itself into the dictionary,
Use it
because it just, I don't think it helps, because with those additions you have to realize we're not actually learning new words, we're subtracting. We are losing. And so there's a lot of really fun words that aren't in use anymore that I really wish were. For instance, going back to England again, people say cheers, cheerio, cheerio, governor.
I say cheers. a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say cheers.
And
And brilliant's the one
brilliant.
that's stuck in my head.
I love that one. That's brilliant.
We
and
used
you
to
know what
spend
we
10, we used to
have?
spend 10 to 14 days at a time in England, and we went 10.
Yeah.
I went 10 times. She went 11 times.
Oh, that's helpful.
In a little over a decade. So
You pick up a
once
lot.
a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't shake it.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
come home, and it's like, like Brian Regan says, you start using words you wouldn't say, like, my dearest, would you like to go to the cinema? Would you like to go with me on Friday night to the cinema?
Right.
No, but I'll go with you to the movies.
Well, and
If you use the word cinema, we can't be friends,
Yeah.
right?
I lived in West Texas for a good 10 years, and that's where I
Yeah.
picked up all y'all and
Yes.
Fixin' Two.
Fixin'
and,
Two, yeah.
you know,
And
I mean,
soda
and I'm keeping them in.
remains. Soda remains forever. I can't call it pop anymore, even though I was born and raised in the North. Called it pop all my life.
So in the Pacific
Moved to the
Northwest,
South,
it's
and it is
soda.
soda, and forever soda it will be.
okay,
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest, it's Coke. What
Yes.
kind? And same with Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have a Mountain Dew Coke.
kind of Coke?
Or I'll have a Sprite Coke.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
Coke.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep,
interesting.
Coke, soda, or pop. Yep.
Yeah, language does evolve over time. There's no doubt about that. The problem is we're getting dumber, and that's the sad part of it all.
Can I offend
Critical-
everybody?
Yeah,
Lots of
critical
people.
thinking's on the way
Sure.
out, and that's what we want to try to strive for is critical thinking. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, this is the one that drives me crazy.
Okay.
And almost everyone does it.
Yeah.
Where are you at? Do not end a sentence with the word at.
I know. See, prepositions are fun,
what in
but
the
they do not
world?
belong at the end of a sentence.
But everyone does it. I'm telling you.
Where are you at?
Where are
Yeah.
you at?
I don't think that's a common one for me, but I do find myself every once in a while. I'll
we
be
got to
saying
find
a
out where
sentence,
people are at.
and I get to the,
No.
I get to the end of the sentence, and it's like, oh, should I leave the light on?
Right. Yeah.
The words I don't like are, hey, you're abrasive. Hey, you're mean. Hey. Those are the words I don't care for.
That's not affirming at all.
I think it's funny when those common catchphrases, though, are said incorrectly as well, like irregardless. Irregardless isn't it's regardless, not irregardless. Or I'm trying to think of some other
I
ones.
had heard
So
that
if you just take a minute, you can think of a lot of them.
I know.
I had heard that irregardless
I'm
is a
probably
word.
guilty of
Look,
some of them
Emily has
myself.
had to intentionally back down from becoming a grammar Nazi.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to
And-
bite my lip.
And
Learn
she,
to bite my lip.
she would be a hardcore grammar Nazi that would even annoy her granddaughters if she did not work in broadcasting because it was radio that got her to let go of all of that nonsense.
Talk to people.
You realize what matters and what doesn't when you're on the air every day.
Well, here's the thing. I don't even think I realized that I loved language and literature and writing and words because they are, just like the Bible says, they really truly are powerful. And when you learn to master them, you have an advantage. You really do. Chris and I got married, and we've always seen the English language very different, just like Chris pointed out earlier, these words that are spelled the same, although pronounced different and used, they don't even mean the same thing. And that is common. But even pronunciation, we've had issues with that on the show in the past, which we won't go to.
Yeah, how I
but
ever
even
had
through
a real show.
pronunciation, for instance, some people add syllables to words that there's not that many syllables.
Happens in the South a lot.
In the South a lot. They don't go to the store.
Give me an example of somebody adding syllables, because
They
I can
don't
give you a
go
taken
to
away.
the store. They go to the store.
Store.
Right? So that's like a 2-syllable word, but
Okay.
store is a 1-syllable word. Chris, you have the opposite.
Yeah, I don't
affliction.
need all those syllables taking up my space.
It's the opposite affliction. He shortens words. So instead of syrup, he says syrup. Will you pass the syrup?
Instead of pouring, apparently I say porn.
Don't
We're not
usurp
going
my
there.
syrup.
Okay, the color orange. Orange has 2 syllables, but Chris manages to only use 1.
Orange.
He wants.
Orange.
There you go. How you like this orange shirt? Orange? Did you just say orange?
Orange.
It's orange.
Yeah.
Orange.
So, yeah.
See, and here's the thing:
time saver.
when I misspeak like that, I just think back to some of the zeros on my broadcasting checks, and I don't care.
Chris,
That's right.
I would
true.
think
I
that the
don't
way
care. I want to care. I just don't.
I would think the way that you naturally want to say the word pouring would have taught you a lesson at this point.
Yeah, I know.
To enunciate.
I know.
The
Yeah.
syrup.
Yeah.
Where are those checks at?
We are literally My Fair Lady in reverse.
Yeah.
Aren't
I
we?
always thought that my broadcasting career would always be focused on me being able to have the big voice. You know, being able to have the voice guy. This is the voice that's going to get me paid. Turned out that's not true at all.
Thankfully.
Turns out it's all about personality and are you relatable?
Yeah. Okay, so
And so the
ask-
fact that you and I were relatable on the air and could make a career out of it was a huge blessing.
And that
for me.
turn happened about when I got in.
I
Yeah,
think
about
so.
when we got in.
I think
Thankfully.
I got my
Okay.
voice got rejected by the top radio people in
I want
1982,
you-
Yeah.
and by 1990 I was sought after.
Exactly.
Weird
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
I
It's a
want
great
you
turn.
to ask for the orange syrup in your big radio voice, the way
All right.
Chris would ask for
right.
it.
We don't have to tell you who rocks the Twin Cities this weekend at the sold-out Metrodome.
Yeah.
It's syrup and orange in concert.
The ground's already
No, you
shaken.
now try-
trucks,
No.
monster trucks coming your way. We
Now
have
tr-
syrup and Gravedigger.
Now try to say it.
Snake the Don.
Now try to say it in your masterful voice, the improper way, the way you would normally say it.
What, syrup?
Syrup. Just ask for the orange syrup.
Would you-
with your bad language and your good voice.
Should I do it as like Oliver Twist from London?
No.
Little orange syrup, please, my
He
lady.
does not follow directions ever. Rules do not exist for him.
I'm so thankful for
We
that.
know this.
That's
Oh, my
hilarious.
lady. My lady, would you be so kind to pass the orange syrup, please?
Now, we're going to go back to the first instruction. Your big voice. Ask for the orange syrup in your big voice.
Oh,
the
but
way
do it.
Chris
Okay,
would
with
ask
my
for
single
it.
symbol.
You don't
Yeah.
listen to any.
Well, if you really want to have a great meal, you need syrup and orange.
See?
Yes. Sold. You'll sell 1 million of them.
Doesn't sound as good, does it?
We don't have to tell you about breakfast
Anyway,
anymore.
moving
This
on.
time, the syrup is personal.
Language is confusing for a certain sector of the population, we admit.
In a world.
I think I used Metrodome in my improv. Man, that building's been gone for about 5 years now already.
The metronome?
I know, I
metronome.
thought you said metronome
The
at
metronome.
first.
No, Metrodome. When I was doing voices for concerts back in the day, the Metrodome would host the big shows. And I always like to get the big shows.
Those are big shows.
We don't have to tell you who rocks the Twin Cities. This Friday night, sold out.
Is it just me, or do you think a really good place for a rock station would be Battle Axe, Michigan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Battle Axe, Michigan. Rockin' Battle Axe,
Okay,
Michigan.
guys.
Yeah.
The dream's over. Let's move on. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I did want to one thing about the show, and then we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with Right On Way Off. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right. This show is a experiment, and AI took most of Emilee's income, and so she said,
Kind of all of it.
Well, yes, all of it.
It's coming
Not
for
just a
It's
portion.
coming for the rest of us next.
Coming for the rest of
I'm
it.
not getting a cut. I just got to be honest.
We don't want to be, but we are early adapters.
That's right. Yes.
So we had a conversation at Christmas, our first Christmas in Iowa, and she said, well, what if we started a nonprofit and did some broadcast outreach, just honest talk show stuff, just variety talk show stuff, but just having an outlet. Mm-hmm. And my whole thing was, let's not bury our talents in the dirt. Let's ask God to send us some people. So if you're watching or listening right now to this program, you are an answer to prayer, because we ask for God to send us people just like you that would watch, listen, participate. Go to the freshroadmedia.com, click the sound off button, tell us what you're thinking. Could be on any topic. It doesn't matter. But I just want us to keep doing the show.
Yeah.
And here's the thing on the first year. There were so many obstacles that I got discouraged. I got frustrated. I got to the point where it's like, why are we even doing this? You know, the audience isn't large enough for us to even attract guests. The finances aren't really coming through. And then God really started laying on my heart that I'm not supposed to look at those results, right? I'm not supposed to look at the numbers of how many people are listening or how many people are giving, and I try not to, because every time I do, I get discouraged. It's like, well, only 50 people watch the YouTube, and then the next week, only 23 people watch the YouTube. Well, did you go to Spotify? We had 300 people there. We had 150 people on this and that. So I don't know what the audience is. I just know what we used to do. And am I making sense when I say, I really don't care, and I just want to do the best we can and leave the results to God? And then when the results aren't to my liking, I go to God and I'm like, what's up with that? You know, why do I have to be, why do we have to continue to do this show? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's working. Then we start running into folks who are starting to give to the ministry, who are impacted by the ministry, who love No Apology, Salvaged by God. I got to be honest, I don't know what my teaching is. Yesterday was a complete disaster for me.
No, it wasn't.
And you guys
It
all
really
say
wasn't.
it wasn't.
It really wasn't.
There were a couple wrong slides and a couple
gosh.
verbal faux pas.
Let me give you an
Verbal
analogy of
faux
what it
pas.
felt like to be me up there.
It felt
Okay.
like orange syrup.
I'm driving across the desert in a dune buggy, and I lose my right front, and now I'm leaning, and I lose all 4 tires, and I just like this microphone.
And then the microphone goes. And then,
I just keep driving,
Yeah.
and sand is blowing up in my face, and I'm just driving all the way to the amen and getting.
I loved it. Yesterday was so good because what happened was I don't even know what happened. I don't even know. I don't think when things went nearly as sideways as you think they did. And then what was really cool is to see Chris up there just. It's just like live radio or live TV or anything else you've done live. You've dealt with it 100 times. You know how to roll with it.
He
And
does.
you rolled with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was great.
I keep telling him he does the
was
the
great.
Johnny Carson bombo.
Yeah.
Like people can
Yeah.
fail, and Chris fails spectacularly.
Well, and he makes it fun.
He makes it so fun. He
Yeah.
really does.
It was
So when
great.
you say, I don't think it went as sideways as you thought
Not
it did,
nearly.
which is probably not something that every pastor wants to hear.
That's right. I know. I saw
It
you guys
was
laughing.
a great message.
Yes.
Hey,
it was
Chris.
a wonderful message.
Nobody bombs like you do. Bravo.
That was
Thank
some-
you.
That was
Thank
some
you
good
very much.
bombing. Where'd you
Hey,
learn that at?
There's
I
a
know,
man.
right?
There was a man. I don't even know if he's still alive, but his name is Marty Jonason. And in the late '90s, he became my acting coach. I was doing a lot of TV commercials in the late '90s, and he had these auditions for improv teams. And I went and auditioned with like 90 other people, 95 other people, and he picked 8 people. One of them was me. I toured with his improv company for 2 years. Okay.
See?
And
good
he
training.
gave me a compliment, and he said, outside of Johnny Carson, he's never seen anybody who can bomb on stage and still be likable.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means. I don't. But he said that when I bomb, it's likable. So, like, Go up there and suck, Chris. Everybody loves it. It's
So
like,
if you want to know what that means, go to Salvaged by God on YouTube and watch yesterday's sermon.
There we go. It is a spectacular.
and by the way, the
sermon,
name of
though.
the sermon yesterday was what? Setback of Crushed Dreams?
Yeah. It was
Like,
kind of
yeah.
ironic. A little bit ironic.
A little bit on the nose
Yeah,
there.
just talking about the pitfalls that Joseph was going through as you went through pitfall after pitfalls.
That was really good.
Kind of adorable.
Well,
I
his
gotta
brothers,
say.
they traitored him.
I know,
Yeah.
right? See, you didn't have a bunch of Reubens and what
Right.
were his other brother? What were all
So,
Leah's kids' names? I don't
back
even
to what I
remember.
was
The
talking
tribes
about.
of Israel.
Back to what I wanted to talk about just
Judah.
before the break. I want to talk about why we need to keep doing this show. Okay, number one, I have said that I don't want to bury my talents in the dirt. If this is any talent that we have, and based on this, what are we at now? Based on the 44 minutes of recording so far, I would say that might be in question. Is there real talent here? Because I'm not seeing it.
Well, there's two really talented
Yeah,
people.
and then I'm here. But I want to keep it going. And here's what I needed to do. I needed to grow. And I'm only sharing this because somebody listening, you might be going through this. I know Emily has a little bit of semblance of it. Mike's has a semblance
We
of it.
all have it,
We
yeah.
all have it. But you have to know where you are in Jesus and what he wants you to do and why. If this show, if this ministry, Fresh Road Media, does not bear fruit, how long do you keep cultivating it before you decide to let it go? Well, my point is, Jesus has got to decide that, not me and my stubborn, selfish, I'm having a bad day kind of way. So Winston
And he
Churchill.
can get very stubborn and selfish, and I'm having a bad day kind of way.
Yeah. Thank you, Pot. Where's Kettle?
Wow. Coming up next on Marriage Confessions.
Yeah. By the way, if you're having marriage
Mike Shaw
problems,
plays marriage counselor.
if you're having marriage problems, contact Emily and I. We do marriage counseling, as you just saw.
Yeah. Well, so next week, just try this.
Yeah.
Tell everything about your husband in public.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
And then come
Just
back.
tell
Yeah.
everybody. Then no one cares. It's all out in the open.
All right. So Winston Churchill had a quote.
Okay.
Oh.
And I got
He
that
had a lot
quote
of
and
them.
I printed it and
Okay.
I taped it right on one of my monitors in my office. So
Okay.
I'm like the only one who, if you're in my office, you almost have to sit in my chair to be able to read it. And
I've
Okay.
never seen it. Yeah.
Nobody's seen it. So
And I love Winston Churchill.
I took a picture of what I have in my office,
Okay.
and,
I'll be
and I'm going to
back.
put it on the screen. That is an actual picture of what I printed for my office. What's so funny?
It says
like
I'll
four
be back.
different colors.
Yeah,
Underlined. Put it back up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't see the monitors.
Okay.
Okay.
What does it say?
Yeah.
All right, this is
looks
what it
like
says.
a child put it up there.
Okay.
But what does it say? What did Winston say?
I am not a child. I am a creative mind who likes to have things my own way.
It's a beautiful mind. It's a beautiful
I put this
mind.
in a Pages document, changed the colors, printed it, and then with my own marker underlined the courage to continue. Audio
in
listeners,
two very crooked lines.
I was walking when I underlined.
So the new AI from Siri is going to fix that
There you go.
Okay.
on your iPad.
Audio listeners, you're listening audio wise. Let me get you up to speed here.
All right.
That says, the quote from Winston Churchill says, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. That's what it is. Emily, your and I's success, who cares?
Right.
Our failures, who cares?
Who cares?
Neither one is final, neither one is fatal. Do
Right.
you want to continue?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and let me tell you, one of the most discouraging things that you can do as a human being on this earth is pastor a church. Just telling you.
I've heard that.
Right now, we are having Bible-believing pastors leave the ministry in droves because of discouragement.
It's so hard,
Because
yeah.
they thought their success from last year was going to carry on to this year. It never does. They thought their failure that they're going through now will carry on into next year. It never does. The courage to continue is what matters. And so if you give to this ministry, you are a huge encouragement. It doesn't matter what the dollar figure is.
Yeah.
If you pray for this ministry, you're a huge encouragement. And if you listen and subscribe to any of our stuff, man, we need that. I mean, we need to have a campaign to get listeners and subscribers. That's where it's at. Eventually, they'll financially support it so that you two guys can the workman's worth his wages kind of thing. But I just want to see the gospel go out. And I want to see people have courage to continue, because that's what we're going to need after all these AI news stories,
That's
after
true.
all the stuff we're going to need. The courage to continue then comes from community, and community that's sold out to Jesus is the best community.
Iron sharpens iron, and we spur one another on. We do need one another, so let's just get used to the fact that we're going to have to force our way in to living a community lifestyle with fellow believers.
Well, we're going to get into Right On, Way Off right after the break. Emilee's got like a 10-second station ID for you, and we'll be right back here on No Apology with Emilee and Chris.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, if you get any encouragement from it, please consider standing with us financially. Go to freshroadmedia.com and consider giving a wonderful gift today. It is appreciated.
Welcome back to listener-supported No Apology with Emilee and Chris. We are so glad that you are along with us today. We have a very good time right here at freshroadmedia.com. Mike Shaw joins us, and I believe it is time for us to do this segment that I think everybody seems to comment on the most, and you guys seem to like it the most.
Yeah.
It's called, and I wish I had a sounder, Right On, Way Off.
You know, it's one of those things that if you have a statement that you would love to hear on Fresh Road Media on Right On Way Off, just go to freshroadmedia.com, click on Sound Off, send us that statement that you want Chris and Mike to dissect and debate and determine whether they think it's right on.
And make sure
or
you
way
tell
off.
us where you're at.
That's right. Yes, please do. Please do. Now, I'm telling you, I'm not a grammar Nazi. I might be. It's in here, but it'll never come out here.
I love it.
Anyway.
I love it.
Yeah,
All right. Well, you know, it's not only summer break, but we are fast approaching Father's Day. And you both are fathers. And so I thought we'd have a little bit of a Father's Day twist to this. I have 3 statements. I'm going to read them to you guys. And Mike and Chris are going to tell me whether they think these statements are right on or way off. And I will let them know if they are right on or way off. And I don't know. When was the last time you won this? I know you don't really care, Chris, but I think it's been a while since you actually.
I look at this like Drew Carey and the Whose Line It Is Anyway? The points don't matter.
There's a couple of shows ago, I think.
Yeah,
he won.
Yeah. Did he? Okay,
Yeah, because
good.
Mike didn't know what he was talking about. So I won.
Not that it matters, but yeah.
Okay, here we go.
paying
Here's
attention.
the first statement. Tell me whether it's right on, way off. Chris, we're starting with you. I have found the best way to give advice to your children is to find out what they want, then advise them to do it. Is that right on, or is that way off? I have found the best way to give advice to your children is to find out what they want, then advise them to do it.
That's way off. I mean,
Why do you think it's way off?
I mean, finding what kids want and catering to what they want and then helping them get what they want. There's nothing wrong with that per se, but that's not the role of a parent. Okay?
Okay.
Look, I counsel people this way, especially when you got people come to the pastor's office or whatever and they're talking about, I don't know what God's will is for my life. Part of it is, what do you want to do? You know,
Yes.
Is God's will for my life to go to A or to go over to B? What if it's both? What if he wants you to decide? Like, you know, if I have a child that wants to do X, I want to help them get to X. But on the same token, if they change and now they want to go to Y, I want to help them go to Y. But you want to advise them on why do they want X and why do they want Y and things like that. You always have the stories of the doctor's son and is he going to go into medicine? No, he's going to go be a stand-up comic and the whole family's
Right.
crushed. And, you know, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean,
Okay.
it's, you know, well, you should support his dreams, you know. He should be, you know. You don't know all the whole story behind everything. All right, you know, so you can't judge either the dad, the mom, or the stand-up comic wannabe doctor's kid
All right.
in that scenario. What you do, though, what you do want to do is you want to be a parent to your child, which means you may have to advise them in things that they want that aren't good for them.
Ah, very good. All right, Mike, what do you think?
Uh-huh.
I have found the best way to give advice to your children is to find out what they want, then advise them to do it. Is that right on or is that way off?
It's way off.
Okay.
It's a sliding scale,
Yeah.
though. So, like, how old are these kids?
Good
'Cause,
question.
Like, when your kids are little kids,
Your kids are always your kids.
Yeah, they're always your kids. When they become older kids, then that could be closer to right on when they're older.
Yeah, because they got to make their own decision anyway.
But when they're younger, and they're still developing, they're finding out what they're good at. They're finding out what they want to do. They're finding out, they might want to do something, but if they're not good at it, that's the part of what having a well-rounded education is you find out what you're good at and what you're not good at and where your passions lie and all those things, and that gets developed over time. So when the kid's younger, they might want to be an astrophysicist, but they don't know yet if they're good at math.
Exactly.
There's a lot of math involved.
Look, let's just take something like, I don't want to get too into our world, but like, okay, our oldest son wanted to be a pilot. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we sat down and then discussed what it all took for him to be a pilot.
Yeah.
And he actually started flying planes in Alaska when we were out there. And
nice.
The same instructor he had, and then he goes off to mission aviation, school. And there, they took it to the next step. We laid out everything that he would need to do and how hard it was going to be, and that we wanted to help him. So that would make me right on in this.
Yeah, I was going to say so.
But I'm way off because that's too generic.
Yeah.
And in this scenario, helping him figure that out. Well, then he gets into aviation school and he realizes that, oh my, the amount of hours I have to get, flying to be able to even go to the mission field will cost so much money that then he started working in mechanics and in building construction to try to raise that money. And eventually the desire for it just fell away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, working with your child for what they want is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But it's way off because that kind of parenting mentality taken to the nth degree harms kids.
All right. So it's a president that said this. All right. You guys want to guess who might have said that?
Probably Eisenhower.
Ulysses S. Grant.
That's a good guess, Mike.
Why not?
Actually, it was Harry Truman.
Oh, okay.
And even though, you guys are both right, it is off, and I think that the ideology that we see in this statement from Harry Truman, we're actually seeing the fruition of it today as we're looking at kids that are girls that want to be boys and vice versa. And you can be whatever you want. No, you can't.
And that's part of the parenting part.
Because exactly.
Because that's part of the parenting part is you have to instill integrity.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's like, I want to quit.
Exactly.
Well, you've started. You should follow through.
Yep.
Sometimes there are times to quit, but most of the time it's like,
follow through.
This is what you want to do, but I can't advise you that. That's bad advice.
Exactly. So up to a certain point.
It just depends on where you're at.
Up to a certain point. But, as we all can admit, when we were kids, we were stupid. We needed our parents. So, yes, that is
just when we
way
were
off.
kids?
Yeah, right.
It was way off.
61-year-old kid.
And you both get a point, so you're tied 1-1 right now.
Hey.
Stop it, Chris. Stop it.
Coming around the clubhouse
You're going to have a better attitude, or I'm calling your mother.
Hey.
All right.
Good luck with that one.
The next statement, we're going to start with Mike. It says, the best new dad advice is this. Teach them to call you your majesty. Is that right on? Or is that way off? Best new dad advice, teach them to call you your majesty.
New dad, like
new dad advice,
like a blended family, or like this, like you just had a baby.
You're gonna
like your wife just had a baby.
Is gonna have a baby, and so
make sure that they call him
your new dad advice.
You're gonna be a new dad. What's the best advice you can give to a new dad? Teach them to call you.
It ain't that.
Your
It ain't that, so I guess I'm way off.
Way off.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a pretty good dad joke, though. So I mean,
It is a good
that
dad
kind of thing
joke.
could work. If you have that kind of personality, and you tell your kid that, I mean, it's kind of funny. I don't know. You're probably
I know
a pretty
guy
good
who
dad.
does have that personality.
Yeah, you're probably a pretty good dad if you're having your kids calling you your majesty.
Yeah.
So maybe it is right on, but it doesn't work for everybody. Everyone has different personalities.
That's true.
For a more introverted, scientific-minded dad, that's probably not going to work as well.
Be hilarious, though.
Yeah. So I'm going to go way off on that.
All right, way off.
Yeah, you want respect, absolutely, but come on.
Come on. All right, Chris, what do you think?
I'm way off.
Best new dad advice, teach them to call you your majesty.
Way off.
Why?
I just, again, that's a joke. You don't want your kids to try to, you don't want to put yourself in that position with your kids because you're not being a biblical father. A biblical father is approachable. A biblical father is, my kids know that I'm their greatest fan. They might have other fans in their life with whatever they do that might match me. I'm not saying that, but ain't nobody ever going to beat me as far as being the greatest fans of my kids and grandkids. It's just I want them to succeed so bad. And not only that, but I don't want to be my kids' buddy. Buddyism parenting is a loser game. But on the same token, they don't ever have to walk on eggshells around me and try to, I have to have some sort of pride and, hey, dude, or just disparaging, talk to their dad. Nah, we don't play that either. But no, you don't call me.
All right. Way to take the fun out of that joke, guys.
If anyone is calling me your majesty, no, Jesus returned and you got left behind. Okay.
All right. That is way off, of course. I think it's hilarious. If I would have known that ahead of time, I might have implemented that in certain situations. You know what I mean? Like if they were in trouble or something like that.
Or like when they get turned 16 and they want the car.
Yeah.
You can have the car, but you have to say the phrase that pays.
No, yeah. Teaching them to drive.
And curtsy.
When it comes
Yes.
to teaching them to drive, when you're in the car, you refer to me as your majesty.
No,
I
I would be right on if you said every teenager when they request the car has to say,
I would be
may
right on
I
with
please use the house transportation, your majesty. And
Well,
make that the phrase that pays.
You
And
guys-
I'm all about that.
I'm right on with that.
You guys just switched your answer. You just switched your answer. What did I say my answer was? I don't even.
You said we were right for being way off.
Okay,
Yes,
that's what
but
I
it was a
thought. Yeah,
joke.
it is
Right.
way off. It's a joke. It's just a joke.
So I was even right about that. So
As funny as it was, we don't need to do that.
Well,
Last
I happen to live in an era
don't
where
know.
technology moved in such a way, the timing of it with my life, that my kids, when they were younger, when it was time for them to get their emails, their first email addresses,
Yep.
I set up all of my kids on their first email address, and I used the same. I used one of two passwords for every one of my kids.
gosh, be careful.
One was
They might still be using
one
them.
was Fun Dad with a capital D, and the other was Love Dad with a capital D.
Yeah.
So.
So yes, when I read that, I actually thought of you, Chris, and
Yeah,
I thought
I
I know a guy who
Yeah.
might do that.
Oh,
at
we
a
played,
certain time.
and my kids can play
Yeah.
because their dad taught them to play, and we had a lot of fun growing up doing stuff like that, like the phrase that pays and stuff like that. But no, in general terms, that's not good advice to try to
Yeah.
put yourself above.
We
your children
did.
like
We
that.
did always have fun. It carries on to this day, so much so that our youngest daughter and Pastor Chris are not allowed to sit together in church.
They have to separate you two.
You have to separate those two. They just get out of hand. All right, the very last one. Here we go. Chris, we're starting back with you again.
Yeah.
There should be a children's song. If you're happy and you know it, keep it to yourself and let dad sleep. Is that right on or is that way off? There should be a children's song. If you're happy and you know it, keep it to yourself and let dad sleep. What do you think?
I'm gonna go way off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, it's another self-centered. It's another joke that bases it on the self-centeredness of parenting, where the kids are in the way. And I just think that has been a big problem, especially with the spoiled younger generation that's coming up now having kids. It's difficult to not put yourself as I'm number one and everything's about me and these are my little mini me's and so they must be my, so they must not disturb me when I want my peace. And it's like, that's not parenting, and I always, well, not always, but 95% of the time I will go against any kind of expression of joy in people, especially kids, being muted because somebody's a stick in the mud. So
All right, very good.
that's my answer.
You say that's way off. Mike, what do you think? There should be a children's song. If you're happy and you know it, keep it to yourself and let dad sleep. What do you think?
Oh, I'm so way off on that. If you tried to publish that song, you would get copyright strike right away on YouTube. That is not going to work. And now you would have to rework it some. There might be a way around it.
Oh, you could ask AI.
You could ask AI to do it. That's it's all the kids are doing it.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sleeping, leave me alone, man. Come on, let me sleep. I mean, can it wait 10 minutes? I mean, yeah, great. You rode your bike for the first time, so you learned how to walk. It can wait a little bit. You'll still be walking when I wake up in 20 minutes. Keep it to yourself.
There's enough problems
that's funny.
with people wanting to always just put themselves above every situation.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what that
it does.
reminds
Yeah.
me of.
Okay. This is amazing. You guys have both got all of them right. I thought I was going to throw you off because they're all way off today.
They are.
As funny and as cutesy as they were. The last one, if you're happy and you know it, keep it to yourself and let dad sleep. That was indeed way off. And I don't know about you, Mike, but for both Chris and I, our dads were the dads that didn't want us to let them sleep. When it came to Saturday morning, he would let mom sleep in. Dad was making breakfast. Dad was, he couldn't wait to spend time with us because he spent so much time, at his job doing his work. When he came home, he wanted to truly be with us.
Who was that quote by?
That was from a comedy piece of Jim Gaffigan.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Now
That
I
makes
do
sense.
have a couple other quotes that we don't have to judge. They're just funny.
What do you mean, judge?
Well, you don't have to tell me if they're right
Right
on or way
off.
off.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
So to be a dad, you have to be adaptable because your kids will do something that blows your mind one minute and then spit all their food on the carpet the next. That is very true.
Like you used to do.
Yeah, like we used to do. A father carries pictures where his money used to be. That was Steve Martin. And last but not least, I just messed up my phone. Here we go. Ray Romano. He says having children is like living in a frat house. Nobody sleeps. Everything is broken. And there's a lot of throwing up.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Dads have a big job. Dads, you are very, very important. Cherish the time that you have with your kids because in the long run, you will make the world a better place by doing it. And it is coming up this Sunday, right? I'm
Yeah.
thinking that correctly,
Yeah,
right?
Father's
Day is
Yeah,
Sunday.
it is
Yeah,
Sunday.
it
It is Father's Day this Sunday. So congratulations, bravo, carry on, all you dads this week.
Yeah,
All right.
no doubt. My dad has a couple sayings.
Yeah.
Like, get your butt in here and bring the rest of you with it. That's one of my favorites. And this one is a classic.
Okay.
Shaw, I swear if you had a brain, you'd take it out and play with it. That's my dad. My dad's hilarious.
Chris, what
love
about
you,
your
Dad.
dad? What are some things your dad said to you
Oh, my
that
dad-
we can air? Family friendly.
My dad could not get his mind around rock music and the way kids dressed. That was his big thing. My dad loved country music, and he wanted people to just dress normal. He anything funky or weird, he just was
Okay.
out. You'd come out and you'd have just like a Hawaiian type shirt on or something that you got at a rummage sale or something, and he'd like, "You're not wearing that out, are you?"
He had a word for it.
Yeah, and
he
he-
had a phrase for it if you were
and
wearing
he
something
said,
weird.
and then I'd say, "Well, I was thinking about it." He goes, "I wouldn't wear that to a snake wrestle if I owned both snakes."
Now, your dad.
Apparently, you have to dress a little snappy for a snake wrestle. I've never been to one.
His fashion statement was flannel shirts and jeans. He wore them,
Yeah, white
not
t-shirt.
flannel, but plaid.
Yeah.
Wore them all the time, and you could see him just over the years, like wearing the same shirt. Like here's a picture of dad with his black hair, wearing his red flannel shirt, and 10, 15, 20 years later, here's dad with his gray hair. He's wearing the same shirt
with a
And-
white t-shirt. He wore a white t-shirt every
with a
day.
white
We men are
t-shirt,
simple
yep.
creatures. Trust
Very,
me.
yeah, very much so.
We're having an '80s banquet coming up. That's the theme, and we're going to be doing the banquet with an
Are we
auction.
getting
and,
dressed up?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yep.
Okay.
The idea is to dress up in the theme. Here's the problem. I
80s
have.
theme.
I still dress like I do in the 80s.
That's
What
right.
I'm
It's
just
the
going to
same.
show up. I mean, here's what I think I can do. I can put on like some sort of bandana and put a cigarette under my ear. Then I'm legitimate the 80s Chris.
No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that.
I can't come as legitimate 80s Chris.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about the
I like
80s.
it.
We dressed in layers. I remember the
Sure.
thing was to wear like 2 or 3 different colors of turtlenecks and then let the color of each one just appear.
Punky
You know what I
Brewster?
mean? Yeah, exactly. We can't do that
And
in
leggings.
the middle of summer in Iowa. That's
Yeah.
just like not going to work. Also, those big jackets with the padded shoulders. I don't even think I have one anymore,
Right.
but I think it's going to be too hot.
It's going to be easy. Like Chris said, when I was working in TV and a bunch of us were going out after work. And so I was wearing jeans, my waffle stomper boots, which basically are just hiking boots. It was brown suede hiking boots, a T-shirt, and a flannel shirt unbuttoned over that. And my friend, who's a musician, also a photographer, he goes, "Nice grunge look." I'm like, dude, I grew up in Oregon. This is what we wore.
Exactly.
Like, so that's what I'm wearing to the thing. Except I did buy a
There you
rock
go.
T-shirt, so I have a Def
Okay.
Leppard
Well, see,
shirt.
and speaking of
Yeah.
T-shirts,
That I got.
plain white T-shirts,
Yeah.
huge in the 80s. Everybody wore plain white T-shirts with the sleeve just folded up a couple times. That was a huge thing. So maybe I can do that. We had
Yeah.
those big, wide belts that hung low on our hips.
I forgot about that. Women have more options in this.
Yeah,
deal, I
women
think.
really do. But again, layers. And it's like, I don't know how I'm going to pull it off. But I don't know. Maybe I'll show up looking like Cyndi Lauper. Who knows?
No, please don't.
Or Lauper.
She's
Cyndi
so unusual.
Lauper.
She's so unusual.
As long as you don't show up looking like Boy George, we'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Well, I would do like a tank top and some parachute pants, but I can't pull that off either.
I'm putting together the soundtrack. I'm going back and I'm getting music from the 80s together.
there
for the
you
thing.
go.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
been really
does anybody
fun.
have MC Hammer pants?
Yeah.
Do 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 do.
Does
Can't touch
Zubas even
these.
exist anymore?
I bet they do somewhere in some museum. or
Zubas was a
something.
Minnesota
Zubas-
manufacturing
oh,
company.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Zubas were. You had a pair
I
of
had
Zubas.
a pair of Zubas. I had a pair of parachute pants
I
too.
think we have a picture of
Wow.
you wearing a pair of Zubas at some
Wow.
point. And high top tennis shoes.
Yeah.
You had to have those.
I know what picture you're talking about. We can't bring that on the show. There's
You
other
guys-
things in that picture
Let's see, in the early
that
80s,
date the 80s to be
Yeah.
the 80s
I wore my AstroTurf cleats, is what I wore.
AstroTurf cleats.
Yeah.
What
that's
are
I wore.
Astro? What does
Well,
that
they're
mean?
They
just-
have a
were
bunch
just-
of little beads.
They're
on
just
them
the
all.
knobby,
Yeah.
Oh,
knobby
they're not
soles.
those actual spiky.
No, they're
spiky
called
things.
turf shoes.
Yeah,
They're
turf
not
shoes.
cleats.
Thank you. Yeah, turf
Okay.
shoes. Mhm. Yeah.
They give you better grip on AstroTurf, which
That's
doesn't
what I
exist anymore.
This is riveting
Yeah, I know.
conversation. I think
We
it's
really
time
went
to
off
end
the
the show.
rails. The people that have hung on to the end, they did not get rewarded this time.
All right. If you have a suggestion as to how we can dress in the 80s, I'm not going to wear a tutu. Jean jackets were huge.
There
we
you
could
go.
do that.
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
perfect.
You do have a jean jacket.
I do have a jean jacket that I could wear. Anyway, go to freshroadmedia.com. Go to Sound Off. Leave us a comment. Leave us a question. Just even to let us know you're listening, we would love to hear from you. Chris, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Please do what she's just said. Everybody, listen to Emilee. Look, when you follow her rules, my life is better. If she says something, do it.
I beg you,
You
please.
can call me your majesty.
And just remember,
Little sign
every
send.
breakfast should have syrup and an orange.
There you go.
Wow.
Bravo. Look at you.
Amazing.
And when you're pouring the syrup, just remember the orange and all of the double syllable, single syllable words that are mispronounced by
Congratulations.
the less fortunate.
I am so proud of you right
Thank you.
now. I've never been prouder. Mike Shaw, what do you have to say before we go? Anything?
No, as my grandfather used to say, remember, wherever you go, there you are.
We just talked about that last night. I call that when we went to Spain and walked the Camino de Santiago across France and Spain.
Yeah.
That was a phrase that I used, and I'm like, because wherever you go, there you are, right?
Yep.
And
My grandpa used to say that all the time.
And it's so true.
It is.
I remember thinking the first time I get out to the Bristol Bay on the Bering Sea in Alaska, I'll be able to see Russia, right? I mean, I'm going to feel this certain way. And you get out there and you don't feel anything like you thought you were going to, but you
just
still
cold.
feel something because
just
you're
cold.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cold.
no, I love that line.
Wherever
I
you go, there you are.
It's just the timing of it. Remember, wherever you go, there you are.
All right.
There you are at.
Yes. That's the answer to where you at.
And that means it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for listening. And join us right back here at freshroadmedia.com next week for another episode of No Apology with Emilee and Chris.